At the bottom right of the map, the player in the red colors for FXO. He has to make it happen. He has to take the first win. It is
FXO Lucky!
There's a lot of pressure on Lucky right now.
Yep, he's been in the spotlight a lot more than this player, though, that's for sure. It's first time on stage. He's already got 2 wins.
Slayers Cranker!
He's gonna have to crank it up here to beat a, I think, much better player than what he has faced so far.
And right now we already have the pylon for Crank. He built the pylon at the choke, and that's one of the discussions that we had in the last season, and that's still going on. A lot of players actually prefer to just build the pylon a little bit farther behind to make the expansion part of the wall off. If you actually place down the pylon at the front, you are very vulnerable against early pools, which is not what Lucky is doing right now. But if he would have played an early pool, then Crank would have been in a lot of trouble with the build that he's currently playing.
Look at that, a couple guys from Singapore visiting here. Awesome. We have actually usually have about half foreign fans coming down to the team league, or coming down to the GSL in general here. It's really cool. Tons of people here today. It's just ridiculous. But we've had people here from like all over the world. It's pretty crazy, actually. People come here for various reasons. Sometimes they're studying, sometimes it's vacation, sometimes they're visiting family, and they all take a chance to come down to Mokdong, visit a GSL game. Got that forge chilling.
Yeah, we already have the Overlord in position, so he knows exactly what his opponent, what Crank is up to, while the hatch is being built right away after the pool. So he's going for a gasless expand, and well, let's see what Crank is doing. I'm especially curious to see how aggressive Lucky is going to be. If he tries to be a little bit aggressive about it, if we are going to see some kind of roach baiting bust, for example, which is definitely something that you can try to pull off. Or if Lucky is just trying to get the third base as fast as possible. He has Overlord position, he knows exactly what's happening, and in the meantime, he's just building up drones, getting a couple of circlings, and so far he didn't take gas, so we won't see an all-in from him.
If this was Linok or Dongregu, if it was another team, I would say, alright, you know what? I think it's a 50-50 chance they're going to go for that roach bust, try and punish him for this. Lucky, I feel like he's just going to take a really quick third and get an infinity drones and just play it that way. He seems like more comfortable playing the macro game to me. That's how I've seen him play these games a lot more in general, I think.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're going for the roach bust, you would have had to take your gas a lot earlier,
That's
and
true.
So far, Lucky didn't take any gas at all. He is just trying to get that third base as fast as possible, and Crank might actually try to cannon it. No, he's not.
I think he just wanted to know what it was. He wanted to know, okay, is there a third going up, or is it going to be, or am I going to have to worry? And that's why he was just camping there. In fact, he was keeping his probe just the periphery, I think, trying to make sure that he wasn't spotting that third. Interestingly enough.
Lucky is aware that there might be this slim chance of Crank cannoning his third base. This is exactly why he's sending an Overlord over to the third, so that he can scout the surrounding area and knows if there's a pylon. But usually a strategy like this is either played on maps like, for example, Shakura's Plateau, where you can cannon the third quite easily with a high ground, or on big macro maps, but on the small map, Crank is not going for it. He's going for the +1 attack upgrade, so we have him focusing on gateways now.
That sneaky Overlord is chilling right in the middle of Crank's base, seeing everything that's going on. Looks like Crank has pretty much full saturation. Ooh, and he's going to get a Stargate. Now, is that actually visible by the Overlord? I don't think it is. No, it is not. Confirmation there.
So I think we can expect him to go for a lot of Zealots and 1 or 2 Void Rays in order to attack the third base, trying to take it down. This would be the usual play. So let's see if he's going to add any additional Warp Guides anytime soon. Well, Lucky is still building probes, and he's behind by now, by the way. We have 37 to 38 Harvesters. Lair Tech going down for Lucky as well.
And he does see those 3 gateways going up. And we saw him prodding the front, just poking it with that Zergling, just to kind of see if he could see if there were more gateways there, see if there was a Stargate next to the front or anything like that. And so he's trying to really keep tabs on exactly what Crank is doing right now. Roachborn is going up right now, which is exactly what he needs. There's a couple Zealots on the map headed towards his third. He has enough Zerglings for it, but if any more come out, he's definitely going to need Brooches.
The Evolution Chamber is really important for him as well, because he needs something that he can throw against the Void Ray that's built right now. But on the other hand, he's just connecting the bases with creep, which is also a very important thing if he wants to defend with the help of queens. He doesn't have too many of them, though. Only 3 queens so far. He doesn't have all that much anti. +1 is done. Those Zealots are pretty darn good against Zerglings, but they're way too many of them.
Is he going to get a warp in? He just has another Zealot coming in there. He definitely wants to save that pylon, and he does get a warp in, so that pylon is safe. The Void Ray is coming across the map as well. Where are those roaches? There's a few of them. They're going to have to haul butt across the map to get to that third. Spinecrawler put down and canceled immediately. There's those roaches to deal with the Zealots. Will he have enough queens to deal with the Void Ray when it arrives, though?
He's going for some Spore Crawlers now. 2 queens will be enough to take on the Void Ray. He doesn't have too many Zealots. Lucky with a very nice defense. And there is no chance for Crank to win this game right now. He has to back up again, and this is huge, but he can warp into the main base. There's a pylon and the probe grants vision.
Wow, that could be bad. That could be bad. He's probably waiting for the right moment. No, this is the right moment. He's going in with 4 Zealots right now. There's a lot of roaches there, though.
The queen.
And I feel like Crank has miscontrolled this a little bit. He got baited back. He attacked with only the Zealots, and then the Void Ray came in with half the Zealots were already dead when he attacked the roaches the first time. I feel like he should have waited and grouped everything up so that the queens wouldn't be able to attack the Zealots. Here again, doing the same thing, attacking those roaches with the Zealots. Now he's moving in with the Void Rays and the Zealots together. This is a better move, but the Spore Crawler's already there.
This is his last chance. He has to make it count. If he does make this attack count right now, then Lucky will be so far ahead. The supply already shows that he has an advantage of 40 supply. 3 Void Rays. Will Lucky be able to kill those 3 Void Rays? If he's able to do this, then I don't see how Crank is going to take this game. He's building a robotics right now, but Lucky is defending so well against the attacks of the Protoss player from Team Slayer.
Yeah, he defended that almost perfectly. I mean, almost no damage done. He pulled everything away. He didn't try and leave anything behind. He's like, all right, well, I'm just going to pull everything away until I have enough roaches to deal with these Zealots. And then, while that was going on, he made some roaches and he droned up again as well. He's now got full saturation on the minerals at all 3 of his bases. So he's got a really good economy going on.
We have 52 harvesters for both of them, but Lucky now droning up hard.
Oh, okay. Actually,
well, he has.
It's not full saturation then, but it's still good.
No, but he's getting there. He's on his way. He's just building more and more drones. He's going for the Spire +1 attack for the ranged units. The Overseer in the main base. I love it. Checking exactly what the follow-up of Crank is going to look like.
Oh, and attacking the front with a bunch of roaches. Crank's army's below, though. Oh, he could. Well, I was gonna say he could trap, but is he trapped in with them, or are they trapped in with him is the question.
He's going for the
Immortal
tag.
comes out, but it's going to pop. He's going to focus fire down the Immortal. The Void Rays come back, though.
In the main base, he's trying to take down a couple of those probes. The Immortal is done, killing more probes, trying to kill some of the Stalkers as well. Very nice job by Lucky, delaying his opponent's second push. He's already able to get back to 120 supply against 97. Really strong here. 61 harvester supply against 51 in favor of Lucky.
That was kind of interesting. He just threw away his roaches, so he doesn't have really very many roaches anymore, and he actually has to be a little bit worried about this counterattack. Looks like the Void Rays are going for the main, while the ground army, with a lot of sentries, is going for the third. He's going to catch those sentries out of position, though. He's going from the back, and he has not warped in any additional units to accompany those sentries. Gotta be careful, though. There's a lot of force fields there.
Catching the reinforcements of God, though. The Void Rays join the battle, trying to take down the roaches while the ground army flanks from the left. Oh, this is looking grim. Crank building a lot more Stalkers, while Lucky's going for 30 additional Lings and trying to take on this army, but there are so many sentries.
There's a ton of sentries there, and he's joined them up with the Stalkers as well. Force fields go down, blocking all of the roaches out. He takes out all of the Zerglings.
Beautiful
the Void Rays
positioning.
being pulled back so they do not die to the Queens. He's trying to go on the back, but now those Void Rays are in position to take out the Roaches. He's got force fields on either side. The hatchery goes down. Everything is dying in the Zerg army. The drones are being obliterated. The Roaches are completely ineffectual behind the force fields, just getting slaughtered by the Void Rays, which are still alive. The Queens finally come in, are going to take out one Void Ray, may even get a second, but the entire army of Lucky has been obliterated, as well as the third, and he is now on the ropes, retreating back to his second base. It is not looking good for our Zerg hero today.
The positioning of Crank was perfect. He was able to get into this small position, this gap between those two thingies with the rocks, where he can throw down 3 force fields to block off any incoming attack, and took down the third base. But now Lucky is getting more and more units and might be able to turn the tides in his favor. He was able to take down that Immortal, and it was about time, because the Immortal already had 10 kills, and now the Roaches are giving chase to the Stalkers.
Yeah, and what we saw happen there, by the way, why did things change so suddenly? He ran out of energy on those sentries and couldn't just cast infinite force fields to control the flow of battle. And so that's why we saw the Roaches able to get in close enough to actually kill all those Stalkers and do some damage. But even though that force got taken out, I think that was an overall win for our Protoss player, Crank, because he took out that third base and took out a huge amount of units. It was a really cost-effective trade there.
Not only the army of Lucky suffered, also his worker count. He's down to 41 against 54 harvesters now. Trying to go for the run by the force field a tiny little bit too late to trap Zerglings. Well done by Crank. And after a very nice start for Lucky, it is going to be a really tough battle for him to get back into this game.
Yep, and Lucky's trying to drone up a little bit more, trying to take that third again. And that one Void Ray is still on the map, and without very much creep spread. Actually, I didn't think about that before. Lucky usually has really good creep spread, but he's been so occupied this whole game that he has not been spreading his creep very much. So there's no way for him to get Queens out into the middle of the map to deal with that Void Ray.
Interesting thing is that we have Lucky now with a switch to Mutalists.
Well, that'll work.
We don't have, well, not only for the Void Ray, but also we don't have Blink, so he can try to harass his opponent's main base. There are no cannons to guard the mineral lines, and this could help Lucky quite a bit if he is able to get the perfect timing. He's moving out with his forces now, but at the same time, Crank is trying to attack with his army. But Lucky is going to be a little bit faster, trying to attack that wall in. Whoa!
That one Zealot somehow managing to hold that entire force back, but not for long. And Crank is not going back. He is just going for it. We're going to have a base trade, ladies and gentlemen. And that is all either player can really do at this point. Crank is going into the natural. The Mutalists have taken everything out. What is he doing in the main? He's not doing anything to prepare for this in the main. He's just doing a complete and utter trade, trying to kill everything before everything is killed. And
we have Lucky with a bunch of drones that he saved outside of his main base, so he could actually place down additional buildings. And we have only a few drones, a few probes, 2 probes, 3 probes left for Crank, but he doesn't have any minerals. He can't build any buildings at all. Lucky might just win this game after all. He's in the supply lead. He has 800 minerals. He can throw down 2 hatcheries if need be, and a bunch of extractors as well. This is looking pretty good for Lucky now.
Crank is desperately trying to take out all those buildings, but back in the main of Crank, we can't see it right now, but Lucky actually is building a hatchery in the top of Crank's main base. You can see it on the mini-map. This trade, he's not even going to get revealed, and Crank is not even going to know where that hatchery is, and Crank, with no units on the map to build extra buildings, is not going to be able to rebuild anywhere.
It doesn't matter if he has the units, he doesn't have the money, he doesn't have the minerals, and he just lost both warp-in pylons. So the only buildings left for Slayer's Crank are the ones in his main base, and this is going to be horrible. He might lose this game. If Lucky would have engaged Protoss army, he would have lost.
And he's gonna be revealed, so he's gonna know where that Stargate is. And yeah, it all just comes down to that one hatchery in the top left, and he's building an extractor in the top right as well, just in case. But FXO Lucky is gonna win this game and shut down the win streak
GG.
Crank by base trade, and GG coming from Slayer's Crank. And that is a little bit sad considering the fact that Crank was basically winning that game and lost by the technicalities. But in a way, you gotta hand all the credit to Lucky for winning that game, pulling it off in style, going for the desperation move and pulling it off.
He played very, very well. That decision to go for the base was perfect. And, well, Crank was a little bit too late with his attack. Also, the Mutalisk, I kind of like them. Did a really good job. The Mutalisk would have been in a position where he could have taken out sentries. If Crank would have warped in sentries to force field his wall in, then they would have been taken down by the Mutalisk. So very nice decision making by Lucky.
Yeah.
And he was able to take the first map for FXO. So we have a 2-1 for Slayers right now. Let's see what Lucky is going to do with his next opponent and who his next opponent is going to be. There's no shortage of, for example, Terran players in the Slayers lineup.
True, no shortage of Terrans in the Slayers lineup at all. And wow, that was pretty clutch there by Lucky going for that trade. And Crank also might have just been thinking, oh wait, I don't have Blink, I don't have Archons, I've got nothing to deal with these Mutalisks anyway. I might as well just try and go for the trade here regardless, but he didn't get any probes out or anything like that. And that's kind of interesting to think about that, because usually you see players with probes out on the map or something like that. When you realize it's a trade, you got to kind of go into trade mode and say, okay, well, this is going to get scrappy. I need to prepare for the end of this here. And maybe Crank, a player with not as much experience, maybe hasn't been in that situation as often. I don't know. Maybe the pressure got to him. Couldn't deal with that. But that means Lucky's going to take a game, and it is 2-1. I actually had a base trade that I played the other day. That was similar. I got to tell a story about this. You watched this game,
didn't you? I watched the live stream.
All right, I got to brag about this story real quick. It was a base trade. I had lost the game. I'll admit that. I got outplayed.
If I would have been your opponent, I would have killed myself.
I got outplayed. This guy was killing the last of my base, and it was on Metalopolis. He came up the left, and I came down the right. And I was like, oh crap, he has a bigger army. If I go back, I'm just going to lose anyway, so I'm just going to counter. And he had a bunch of spine crawlers, but I took him out with infested Terrans. It was fine. It went into a complete base trade, but I realized what was going on. Hold that thought. Let's find out who Slayers is going to send out first. And it is none other than Clyde, a Terran player.
No surprise there.
Only recently gotten out of Code S, and used to be on Team TSL, of course.
The thing why you want to send out a Terran player is Lucky has been not doing all that well against Terran lately. It's not like he's horrible against Terran or has a super bad loss streak, but his Protoss versus Zerg or his CVP is a lot better than his CVT. So sending out a Terran player sure makes sense, especially with Slayers having an awful lot of good Terran players, and Clyde trying to prove himself in Team Slayers. It's obviously a very good choice to take on Lucky. Let's see how Clyde is doing against the Zerg.
Yep. Alright, and is the game starting up already, or? We're going to see in just a second. Anyway, I'll try and finish my story real quick. Basically, I knew I had the game lost and I could only somehow get a desperate trade-off. So when he was killing my base, I built an extractor in his expansion base. So when I got revealed, he saw that that was my only building, and he sent his whole army down to the bottom to get my one extractor. And when he was about to kill it, I built another extractor in my main. And when he killed the one in his base, he's like, oh, I need to go back up there again. And he sent his whole army back up to the top again to kill that extractor. And when he was about to kill that, I built another extractor in his base again. And while he was going back and forth across the map 2 times, I was going around the map. And it came down to a situation where we each had like 1 building left, and I killed his about 1 second before he got to my last extractor. It was pretty epic.
So if you're going for a base race scenario, you always have to make sure that you scout your opponent's buildings that you... yeah, exactly. If you want to defend against it, you have to get drones out in order to build buildings. And I feel that one option for Crank might have been just to save those warp-in pilots that he built in the front of his opponent's natural.
Yeah.
That would have been a good choice, I guess. But while the players are setting up their gear, ladies and gentlemen, we are having another 5-minute break. So see you in a few seconds. And while we have a break, check out GOMTV.net/tickets, where you can get tickets to watch the GSTL in HD. And we are back in 5.